So Gurdjieff said that anything you learned had to be paid for. So any kind of spiritual knowledge in this world had to be paid for. They were like, "You're a spiritual teacher. Why don't you work for free?" He said, "No, because the law says otherwise. The cosmic law." And so wealth and building wealth is actually an important component of the spiritual journey. A lot of people come to me very broken and broke by their trauma, and they want me to work with them for free. If you work with me for free, I'll do all these things. No, you won't, because you won't value the work. You won't invest in the work. Even if you tell yourself you will. I've seen this countless times. Let's say you meet for a session and it's $50,000, you're going to hang on every word. Versus, $19, I'll see you. That's sort of where I tried this other thing, now I'm going to go try this other thing. So the way to force that catalyst for growth is to kind of focus your energy of manifestation into a thing, and we do that through money. It's interesting because we're taught that Christianity is kind of a religion based around not owning things, right, and being very minimalist and eschewing wealth and all these things. And of course the Vatican is like, all these rooms are plated with gold, and it's the same in Buddhist temples. Buddhism is about like renouncing things, and then there's these gold-plated temples. So there's this duality, and the interesting piece is that Jesus and taking in the Christ and starting his ministry depended upon the wealth of one of the wealthiest men in the world, Joseph of Arimathea, which is written about in a book which is called The Lost Disciples. And I learned about it through Dolores Cannon, who hypnotizes people and they remember their past lives, and if they knew Jesus, they'll relate stories like that. And that aligns somewhat with what Edgar Cayce said. So are these valid sources? Are the other sources more valid? We have to realize that religion's been like ground through this human process of refinement and stripping away of other things and adding other things. Like the Virgin Mary being a virgin was not like a essential belief until like the 1880s. So there are all kinds of traditions that weave into that tradition, and poverty was put in there. It's something like one of the pagan beliefs. So this frees you up a little bit to know that yes, you do need wealth. Yes, all these people talking about wealth. What is wealth? What does it symbolize? Is it your freedom? Is it your health? Is it your power, your strength? And just acknowledge that that's what you want, and that wealth, currency, can be a way to get there. And Joseph of Arimathea, through having a fleet of ships and a tin trade and all this stuff, brought Jesus all over the world. And as he was on these trading trips, he left Jesus with the wisest people in the world to kind of absorb their knowledge. He was part of that ministry. That was the education of Jesus. And that makes a lot more sense than education nowadays. So harness wealth and make that part of your spiritual journey. You deserve to have the life experience you're called to. And this is hard to wrap the mind around if you've been indoctrinated into poverty consciousness through all these subtle ways. Like, I'm broke, but I'm spiritual. There's no but. And also, are you more spiritual if you're broke or less? Is someone traveling the world and traveling spiritual sites and even staying in hotels in Paris and meeting all kinds of people, are they more spiritual? Or someone who is on food stamps living in a ghetto in the United States, dreaming of one day moving to California? Are they more spiritual? Like, what if they both go to church every day? What if neither one goes to church? What if da-da-da-da-da? So those are all arbitrary. It's spiritual to gather experiences, and certain things help you do that. They're like bridges, they're tools. They help you gather experiences. Obviously, if you became a rock star, you'd have access to certain pieces of the world that would allow you to travel and see things and have experiences that most people did not have, and that would be your spiritual journey. It's kind of like maybe Russell Brand having a spiritual awakening, or the Beatles. They reached the other side of that flip coin. John Lennon likely got closer to spirituality than some very poor pastor who was a farmer who didn't see much of the world at all. Likely, not necessarily. There's farmers that find divinity in a flower. So the point is, You were implanted with certain desires for a reason. That's your spiritual path. The good that you seek is your God, as I just read in a book, Christian Mental Practice, from the 1920s, written by kind of a prodigious woman who was in touch with divinity in a lot of fascinating ways. Your God is the good that you seek. Strength, support, power, health, freedom. So how do you achieve that? There's ways to be free by owning nothing and kind of wandering around, and you're beholden to people. Other people are supporting you, so you're not quite as free as someone who's set up their system so that they can go around. And look at the Jesus story. You know, it's hard to say if he had that wealth, or that wealth was just moved through him because Joseph was wealthy, though there was a relation. So we don't know the exact answer. I'm just saying we need to realize where our poverty consciousness comes from and let go of some of that if we're called to. And I have been. And I've found that I can experience more in the world through having a certain level of self-sufficiency in that wealth aspect. And also, I reached that because I was communicating with clients like, how can you invest in your own evolution? And sometimes it was hard to get that to click. I need to invest in something that's spiritual. Yes. I mean, you invest in everything that's spiritual. You want to go to a retreat in another country and sit in silence for 10 days. You need to get there. You need airfare. You need your food. You need, to do your fundraising, which will require some tools. So it's just a way to reframe how to be spiritual. So thank you so much.